Okay, look, I know. This is kind of bad right here, because we made a video already discussing the idea of Christian Dvorak to the Canadiens, but that was just the idea, you know? Talking about the hypotheticals, what it could mean, how exactly Dvorak could play here on the Canadian squad, but that video definitely is not the same kind of video as what we're having in this one right here, because this video is a lot more urgent than that previous one. As you know, today is the day that we will either see Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Montreal Canadiens' third overall pick in 2018, either head over to the Carolina Hurricanes or stick around with the Montreal Canadiens on an expensive one-year deal with an expensive qualifying offer when he's in a position where he's really not playing to that amount of money. We have ourselves until, I believe, it's like 5:30 PST as to whether or not we're going to see the offer sheet be matched or not, but in the meantime, we had ourselves a rumor that really came up about the past few hours over here, and this normally isn't something that I would cover, but the source that we're hearing this from is a source that predicted, well, do I want to say predicted? Do I want to say called out or said was going to happen? They mentioned something earlier on in the offseason that was a big surprise to everybody, but they had the scoop beforehand, which is why we're basing this video off of that claim. So we're going over onto the Twitter account LCHLNH. They're a French Twitter account. They tweet about Montreal stuff, and they tweeted out yesterday this tweet right here. It's in French, but we're going to translate it. Here is a clarification. Eric Engels said that he expected Marc Bergevin to go get Christian Dvorak 3 to 4 days ago. For me, I had confirmation from my side, from a more than reliable source, and it's the same one that gave me info on Perry and Mailloux. So this Twitter account is saying that after Jesperi Kotkaniemi goes over to Carolina, because apparently that is going to happen, the next move is a trade for Christian Dvorak, that in which cannot be revealed or processed just yet. Now, somebody here replies, look at their username, Nick Suzuki. No, not Nick Suzuki, something else right there. What is the return for Dvorak? Any ideas over here? They want Paul Byron personally to go over to Arizona in a Dvorak trade, and they also say that they would like to see Lawson Crouse head over to Montreal too, but they have no info on a potential return. Now, why exactly are we talking about this specific source? Well, because they tweeted it out themselves. Earlier on, before the NHL Draft, they're the Twitter account that went out there and said this. According to my information, the Canadiens will draft with the 31st choice, or 30th, as you might say, because Arizona had that forfeited pick. They will select Logan Mailloux. And this was posted at 4:20 p.m., so this was before the draft. This was before the Canadiens had even a close chance of picking because they were at the end of the first round. And you gotta remember, the draft was like 4 hours long, so it was a while. They tweeted out before anybody had the scoop that Montreal was going to take Logan Mailloux, and that was a pick that a lot of people were super surprised about. If you told anybody at this time in the draft, on draft day, hey, Montreal's going to take Logan Mailloux at 30th overall, they'd be like, are you serious? That's going to happen? What the hell? No way. Like, I know if you told me that was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed it. So, this Twitter account does indeed, if they're not lying about this and didn't just get lucky with Mailloux, they apparently do have a source that is within the Canadiens organization that is high enough in the system where it's like, okay, this person knows what's going on with the team, and they're just kind of leaking out the information to this Twitter account over here. And so by the time 5:30 rolls around, PST, by the way, because I am here on Vancouver, BC, by the time that time rolls around, and we know whether or not KK goes over to Carolina or not, if the Canadiens just say, okay, we'll take the picks. You can have KK, Don Waddell, take your guy, $6 million, he's all yours, and we get the picks, maybe that's kind of when I'm going to start to believe it a little bit more, because we all do kind of know that Marc Bergevin does indeed get super involved in the trade market. He is always conversing with other teams, and it's kind of part of the reason why Montreal is always super involved in every trade discussion for any big-name player out there, whether you like it or not. Like, it's always like that, and it's been like that for a while. So I have no reason to dispute the idea that should the Montreal Canadiens receive a first and a third round pick in a very, very deep 2022 NHL Entry Draft, that they wouldn't go out there and be like, okay, we just lost our potential second line center of the year. We need to go out there and get ourselves another center. Dvorak has been the guy that Friedman and Eric Engels have both said the Canadiens would have been linked to for a while, and this Twitter account is saying, yeah, the same source that told me that they were going to draft my U, which did happen, and he's also talking about Corey Perry as well, which I didn't actually find, but if it's my U and Perry, this source telling this Twitter account about those pieces of information before they happen, talking about Christian Dvorak as well, then I mean, look, there probably would be a trade done with the draft picks that the Canadiens would receive, because that's the only reason you would hold off on this kind of thing, right? That's the only reason why you wouldn't be able to make this trade sooner, because the picks and the compensatory return would have to be part of the package going to Arizona. We know the Coyotes want draft picks. We know they're in this position where, after getting all their other draft picks rescinded and removed, they need to load up on depth and youth. So that would make sense, right? It's just whatever else the package would be heading over to Arizona would also be pretty important as well, whether it's a Paul Byron whose salary is going to be LTIR'd and all that, whether it's another forward that could be seen as valuable in the long term. Who really knows? But for Christian Dvorak, if you want the entire rundown, we already made a few videos talking about Dvorak and the teams that are interested, Red Wings, New York, Ottawa, and eventually Montreal too. We'd made a whole bunch of videos about that, plus the video a few days ago talking about KK out, Dvorak, and you can get my entire opinion as to whether or not Dvorak would be an upgrade over KK in that respect in that video. But this entire thing is just kind of interesting when you consider that a source is saying it's going to happen now. So I'm going to wait maybe 5-ish more hours after this video is uploaded. We got one more video to do in today's show. We have ourselves a Canucks update I wanted to get into, so I'm going to go ahead and record that video. But talk to me in the comments, what do you think about the potential trade to be, I guess. You know, this video's lifespan is not going to be long. It's just a short update as to a thing that we heard yesterday that is pretty much going to be confirmed or denied in the next few hours over here. If Montreal decides to just keep KK and say, okay, we'll bite the bullet, we'll pay the amount of money that you signed him to, Carolina, and you can keep your draft picks, then this entire Twitter account and what they're saying about the KK offer sheet and the Dvorak trade, it's not going to happen. It's already moot. But if KK does go to Carolina, then all of a sudden, that's like 25-30% of the journey to this Twitter account being 100% correct already fulfilled. It's just, I'm saying 70-something% more for Dvorak because, let's face it, there are only two choices for KK in this current time frame as I'm recording this audio that are going to be disputed in about 5 hours from now. And for Dvorak, I mean, if the Coyotes just want to debate the Canadiens and say, okay, no, screw it, we're going to trade Dvorak to New York instead, all of a sudden the Habs are down in the dust. So there is indeed a bigger likelihood, I guess, of things going wrong from the Dvorak point of view, aside from the KK point of view, which is kind of why I'm distributing the percentages that way. We're like 30% of the way through if KK goes to Carolina for this Twitter account over here to be correct. But it'll all depend on what happens tomorrow, I guess. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in 2 days, whether or not a trade for Dvorak does get done, whether or not that involves the draft picks and all that. It's just kind of funny, man, how this stuff is all coming about so quickly, and it's kind of weird because it's like, man, I still remember making our very first video about KK when he was drafted, and to think that this might be the last video talking about Jesperi Kotkaniemi as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. He was drafted 3 years ago, man. Like, that was so weird. Time flies by so fast. Talk to me in the comments. What do you think of you enjoyed this video? Do you think the rumors are real? Do you trust this source? Do you want to see more? Are you just kind of skeptical like I am, but are somewhat open to the idea of it happening? Talk to me in the comments. What do you think of you enjoyed this video? And bye.